In less than 2 weeks, a total solar eclipse will cut a path across 13 states, darkening parts of the country for several minutes.
Make sure you have the proper eye protection, like the Eclipse glasses.
We're about to experience a celestial phenomenon prophesied by the ancient scriptures. On April 8th, 2024, the skies over the US will darken as a total solar eclipse occurs. However, this is not just a regular eclipse, as recent scientific discoveries have predicted that an earthquake, among other signs, will follow, just as stated in ancient biblical prophecies. Is rapture really about to happen? Is this the end of the world? Join us as we unravel what the Bible prophesied about the coming solar eclipse in the United States. The prophesied solar eclipse. Scientists predict that a solar eclipse will occur on April 8, 2024, but this is not a regular eclipse. Many believe that this may be one of the signs of the end times, as prophesied in the scriptures. The excitement of the solar eclipse may be accompanied by the roars that come from deep below the ground. The findings of recent scientific investigations indicate that the tectonic plates are somewhat unsettled in a way that could signal an eclipse being accompanied by an earthquake. We will dive into the research that stipulates this and what it could mean to the people and communities residing in the affected areas. The solar eclipse is not only something astronomical, it's a dance of cosmic giants that have attracted people to themselves forever. When the moon conquers our sight, we'll feel the night in the light of the day. Yet, what makes this solar eclipse remarkable? We'll describe the way it will move over North America, the best areas to see it, and the complicated physics behind it. The eclipse trial will begin in Mexico, heading northward to the United States and ultimately into Canada. This trajectory of exploration witnesses entire planets being explored. The moment of the eclipse with the longest duration, which will be almost 5 minutes, will be the best to admire the rays of the sun with the corona-like flames and see whether a flare or coronal mass ejections will occur. Large cities that are in the path of totality or near the totality line will be a good opportunity to observe and research the eclipse, where this will be up close and personal. Going forward, another total solar eclipse visible to the United States won't happen until 2044, stressing the tremendous rarity of the upcoming one. Eclipses, known for producing reactions that vary from absolute wonder to a feeling of oneness, lead groups of people with different backgrounds to gather and witness this natural wonder at wide intervals of time. The forthcoming solar eclipse has provoked the attention of biblical prophecy researchers who see it as associated with important dates in the Jewish calendar. Having said this, some have assumed that it may be connected to the events of the final days. Scriptures such as Joel 2:31, which mentions the sun turning to the dark, have spurred some people to theorize that it might be about eclipses of the sun. The passage given here and other passages found in the Bible are sometimes considered an indication of major religious moments. The route of the 2024 eclipse over the USA is being eyed by some prophecy fans as a meaningful coincidence. According to them, the two major meanings could be that it was a divine message or a call for internal contemplation and spiritual growth. Eclipses are not a new phenomenon throughout history and are occasionally tied to biblical events. The eclipsing of the sky in clouds has been regarded as a strong message transmitted from the heavens. As for the Christian teaching about the fate of the universe, eclipses are sometimes considered as part of the signs and wonders that are supposed to foretell the end times. Not excluding this, some experts and followers are considering the 2024 eclipse within this context. The expression, "the day of the Lord," among the prophets in the scripture, refers to the time of judgment and divine intervention. Others correlate the occurrence of this particular eclipse with the day of doom predicted by this prophecy. Others may see it as a sign to pray and to do some contemplation. It presents us with the chance to reflect on the different roles that we play in the universe and the chances that life has to offer to us during our respective times. The upcoming solar eclipse has been a topic among prophecy groups nowadays, with many different prophecies and predictions being shared. It has redirected the researchers' focus on the prophetic texts and their relation to current trends. The total solar eclipse of April 8, 2024, has made people talk about the possibility of it representing a divine sign. According to others, these events that are observed in the skies may be found in the Bible as evidence of divine spiritual happenings. A striking parallel is the fact that the path of totality of the upcoming eclipse in 2024 will go across 7 cities called Nineveh within the USA. This has traced the similarities to the biblical story of Jonah, who spent 3 days in the belly of a whale before its release and, as a result, spawned discussions about a possible prophetic meaning. The 8th of April eclipse is seen by many as representing the beginning of the key 7-year cycle since the last major American eclipse in 2017. This point of view arises from interpreting Jesus' statement about a comet, as well as the sun, moon, and stars in Matthew 24. While scientists can foresee and explain natural sights like eclipses, their occurrence is due to other natural factors outside human control. However, others portray the eclipse as an illustration of God's might, since such events are never controllable by people. Most will view it as an announcement about the majesty of God depicted in Psalm 19. The once-in-a-lifetime offer to be a part of such an extraordinary display is regarded as a taste of celestial majesty by some. On the total eclipse of April 8, 2024, the islands of Kiribati arise, which, according to many, represents the idea of a peaceful world. The origin of the name Kiribati can be traced back to Captain Thomas Gilbert, who was responsible for the first transportation of English prisoners to Australia. It has stimulated the echoes of prophetic meanings of the eclipse as an omen of peace and harmony. Totality is not merely an event, but an astrophysical marvel that gives us innumerable pieces of information about our solar system. One of the advantages of the total eclipse is that scientists can study the solar empty, which is usually veiled by the bright solar disk. This unique chance for the solar flares and coronal mass ejections observation, which has a great impact on Earth's magnetosphere and satellites orbiting above, enables this observation directly from space. Worldwide, solar eclipses are known to fascinate and scare, and this is most often regarded as an important sign of things to come. Often in the antique civilizations, the eclipses had a sense of the message from the gods, leading to different rituals and ceremonies. We'll explore how different societies have viewed and reacted to eclipses throughout history and how these beliefs have evolved. The animals on Earth experience a different world when the sun suddenly becomes dark during a solar eclipse. Birds could be back at their nests, and those animals active during the night may become active in confusion at the altered light schedule. We'll explore why animals engage in extreme behaviors during a solar eclipse and what such behaviors tell us about how the natural world is ruled by the cycles of the sun. This is a task that can only be achieved with preliminary thinking and the right tools. We will talk about a variety of methods on how to take a picture of the eclipse, from finding the right filters to setting up a time lapse. The eclipse offers amateurs and professional photographers an excellent chance to capture a piece of nature's wonders at a time when this natural moment is rarely seen. Through technological advancements, we can now determine the exact time of eclipses more precisely. We will focus on the tools like computer software and methods like algorithms that astronomers utilize to determine eclipse paths and times, and how this data is a vital element of the preparation process. Researchers will look into the data acquired from the event to improve scholars' knowledge about the sun and its impact on Earth. It's our turn to examine post-eclipse analysis and the perspective it offers us on our solar system's place in it. Speaking further of end times and the meaning of the solar eclipse, we are going to examine other indicators that are usually allocated to the end period in Holy Scripture. The days of end times mentioned in the Bible go hand in hand with the coming together of several signs. The symbol of the solar eclipse does not stand alone, but is part of a broader prophetic jigsaw made up of wars, rumors of war, famines, pestilences, earthquakes, and celestial signs. These disasters are purportedly happening a lot more often and intensely before an unpredictable time in human history is finally reached. One of the most significant indicators from the Bible is the ever-present conflicts on the one hand and the incessant wars on the other. This symbol is a portrayal of the unending turmoil on the planet and the fact that we have not succeeded in establishing perpetual peace. Additionally, famines and epidemics are mentioned among the most significant signs. Such phenomena as natural disasters and disease outbreaks become a sign of turmoil in the world and frequently are observed from the perspective of prophecy as precursors of the final days. One more manifestation is the improvement in delinquent behaviors and the deterioration of moral norms. Based on this attitude, it is a biblical revelation of the extent of the sins of the world when the end time is approaching. Even though there is disagreement on the timing of events, the Bible points to the gospel being proclaimed to all nations as a sign of the end times. This message is a hope-giving sign and a prophetic realization all put together. The state of Israel and the geographically tumultuous neighborhood of the Middle East are hugely relevant in end-time prophecy. It is not only the prophecy scholars who are keenly observing these events, but also their connection to the biblical prophecies. The prophet also tells of the emergence during the end times of a charismatic global leader known as the end-time Christ with a lot of influence and power. This is a portrayal of one of the most powerful and deceitful people. The rapture of the church and the great trial, which are expected to happen at the end times, are at the core of the end times prophecy. Such planetary scenarios are likely to cause a great deal of suffering to all lives on the planet. In the end, the Bible teaches that sooner or later the second coming will happen. This will be regarded as the hour when the divine and justice are taken on and a new era begins. These features combined form a visual language expressing a world changing on the verge of a transformation. Though the solar eclipse is not explicitly described as signifying the end times, it can be viewed as being linked to further prophetic events, which are themselves acknowledged as occurring in the time we live in. This particular eclipse and its incredible uniqueness, combined with the particular setting of the present climate conditions, have given rise to some opinions that this historical period might be somewhat unusual after all. This particularity of interpretations discloses the meaning as either literal or symbolic, and simultaneously keeps one in suspense in terms of the destiny of humanity and the vastness of the universe. As the world eagerly awaits the mysterious darkening of the sun, we can't help but wonder if this is going to be different from other eclipses. Stay tuned. The significance of solar eclipse to humanity. In ancient times, solar eclipses have been described as very powerful and noteworthy events in human history. Sky phenomena are also culturally specific and could be narrated or explained. During prehistoric China, it was believed that solar eclipses signified the demise of emperors and kingdoms by foretelling the future. The first recorded solar eclipse that can be traced to October 22nd, 2134 BCE was authored by two Chinese scholars, Shi and Ho, who were facing the death penalty because of their miscalculation in the prediction of the solar eclipse. The Babylonians, who were skilled in astronomy, recorded every solar eclipse diligently and technically deduced the Saros cycle to predict these solar eclipses. They projected May 3rd, 1375 BCE as one of their earliest documented records, as well as the prediction and observation of a solar eclipse. The Greeks and Romans too continued to chronicle and take note of the solar eclipses, usually as signs of divinity. Thales, the founder of the Ionic school in Greece, was the first to predict the solar eclipse of May 28, 585 BCE, which brought the battle between Lydian and Media to a halt. Many myths and folklore were related to solar eclipses, with people believing in the concept of two gods battling or a monster swallowing the sun. These stories chronicle the ancient people's dread and amazement in conjunction with the effects of the eclipse phenomenon. In the olden days, during the Middle Ages, the solar eclipses were interpreted as omens, which often foreshadowed either impending bad luck or commencing great events. The accounts from that time often show the linkage of eclipses to wars, famines, and plagues. During this time, a period of numerous portents and rulers exercising the Middle Ages in the heavens, a solar eclipse meant more than a mere celestial event, as it was a cosmic sign that demanded attention and interpretation. The dusk of the sun was an event involving important events or the threat of inevitable destruction. The testimonies from this time similarly relate to major events narrated like wars, famines, and plagues, which in turn reflect a prevailing belief in the connection between the heavenly bodies and the earthly realm. The overwhelming sensation for medieval societies of the sun suddenly disappearing during an eclipse must have been disconcerting. It changed the flow of nature, casting an unanticipated shadow across the land, and did what it does best: turned day into night. This dramatic change of the sky was often seen as a divine message given by the heavens themselves, a sign that the celestial world is concerned with human life. It is not surprising that many historians of that time linked total eclipses with wars. An eclipse can be many-fold. It can symbolize divine approval or disapproval for a military campaign, which in turn affects military strategies and morale. Sometimes the flickering of an eclipse during a fight was taken as a sign to drop arms or to celebrate a victory. After all, the moon and the sun are the symbols of the cessation of hostilities. The darkening of the sun had mystical and supernatural connections, which resulted in natural disasters such as famines. In the Middle Ages, people were sure that an eclipse could be a sign of a bad harvest and that starvation might come to people's houses. This relationship stemmed from the idea that the sun, with its light and warmth, was considered essential for plants, as the sun might temporarily withdraw and cause huge damage. Similarly, eclipses were also believed to trigger the disease known today as plague. People in such times would often think that the darkness of the eclipse was a sign of illness, such as obscuring the sun, which was the source of health and vitality. The high anxiety and uncertainty contributed by the plague could raise social and psychological impacts further, and hence the plague eclipse was given the ominous name. In the Middle Ages, astrological interpretations of eclipses were a crucial element. The astrologers, who frequently consulted with the royalty and nobles, interpreted the stars and the planets, and they used that information to predict the outcomes of eclipses. Their reading could be taken to change public opinion and influence the direction of ruling policies, showing the strong influence celestial phenomenon had upon medieval life. From the view of medieval historians, the eclipse was regarded as an observable entity that did not necessarily reveal the future. By their very existence, the moon and the sun served as a cosmic clock that could be used to date precise events with great accuracy. The act of registering eclipses, which were often quite massive in a chronicle, was rather meaningful, not only in the context of what it marked, but also in the grandiose macrocosm. The endurance of the medieval theories of solar eclipses to our current perception of them is one of the most obvious pieces of evidence. Although modern astronomy has dangers of celestial mechanics and eclipses, the awe and the search for meaning in celestial events are immortal. The legends from the Middle Ages make us feel like people have been sincerely seeking celestial patterns and the everlasting cycle of the sky since ancient times. Seeing as we are currently watching another solar eclipse on April 8, 2024, such a time reminds us of all of our ancestors who were confused by the sun and moon. We must go back to the past and take a look at the future. We are instilled with the lessons of history and set our goals. People became interested in the natural world, and the skies in the Renaissance. Astronomers like Johannes Kepler and Edmund Halley developed the scientific understanding of solar eclipses, freeing our minds from the superstition that had been attached to this natural phenomenon before. The Age of Enlightenment has made the investigation of solar eclipses more methodical. Generating data from eclipses helped to create the science of astronomy and also served to check or debunk scientific theories. The solar system ages currently, and in a long way, the solar eclipses have enabled enormous scientific breakthroughs. The enduring significance of the 1919 solar eclipse was in supporting the validity of general relativity, and the eclipse in 1868 led to the discovery of helium. By now looking at what has happened, whenever a solar eclipse occurs, such an event is celebrated with many people physically present to enjoy the terrific show. They are examples of global unity and curiosity, wherein science, culture, and history meet in one physical place. However, they bring with them environmental pollution, huge expenses, and traffic overloads. As we dim the light a little bit on this chapter in the celestial dance of the sun and moon, one can't help but ponder what tremors might the eclipse stir within the heart of our planet. Will there be a rumble, a sign, or a shift? Stay tuned to uncover the seismic truths hidden in the shadow of the eclipse, the end of time. As we look up to the sky, we can see literal things like handwritten words under the sky, which are usually assigned as prophecies. The coming total solar eclipse is not only an astronomical event, but for them, it is a sort of artist's canvas on which the phenomenon of the world's end is drawn. The star, which was bringing good or bad signs before anything remarkable, was described in the Bible. At the hour of the second death, we see night becoming day, and the moon is changed from its usual form to red. Afterward, the Lord makes a loud and terrible sound. John used apocalyptic dictionaries. The vision was satisfactorily appointed with an earthquake that comprises all its landscapes, the sun that is black as sackcloth, and the moon that is red as blood. Does the solar eclipse confirm this as one of these signs? It is an issue that always pops into our heads and which uniquely touches the heart. Nineveh's heavenly exhibition in some 7 cities in North America seems to also relate to the stories of Jonah as he was swallowed by a whale for 3 days. It could be the reasoning of those who do put this in connection with the third-day happenings that are described in Scripture. The eclipse path starts right in the Pacific Ring of Fire, and then it travels up to the north, passing through U.S. soil. For some people, it looks as if the message is being delivered to America. The eclipse is departing Canada from the location called Maybury, a word created from Mabel, a name that means beautiful and dear, which provokes more inquisitive minds to ponder deeper about this event's implications. In Matthew 24:29, Jesus said that 3 problems would come next. The world would eventually be plunged into darkness, and the lights of the stars would disappear. Such events, as described in Matthew the 24th of May, be a sign of whether we live in the last of times, and that Jesus will be coming back soon. Time brings in the 8th day of the April solar eclipse as a means of confirming the claim that the upcoming events would be hugely significant and would shake the earth. The entire world is riveted at the most exciting moment, as an eclipse is about to happen. For those who believe in a prophetic connection between the heavenly objects, they are reflecting and thinking during this time. So what does the eclipse say? Is it a fleeting shadow or an indication in the hand of supremacy? The stars remind church members and students in particular of their mortality. They are warning signs telling us that we have to pay attention and suggest that we think about our feelings and understand what we see in the natural world. The solar eclipse makes one see the awe and wonder in nature, which is so unbelievable. It is the one moment when the usual course of daily life is interrupted and people tend to stop and appreciate the wonder and elusive nature of the universe. For those who view the world through the prism of prophecy, eclipses can be a symbol of a call to introspection and rejuvenation of the spirit. Shades of the sun can be understood as a sign of an incontestable divine rule over it. It expresses this thought even in the simple form of, indeed, humanity cannot dominate and understand those forces. The eclipse is a metaphor for modesty, teaching all of mankind about her place in the scheme of things. For those who believe, the sun's darkening is a beacon to guard their actions and be ready. It is a symbol that shows their readiness for mindfulness and faithfulness. The short period of darkness during the eclipse symbolizes the spiritual darkness that can occur when a world is miles from the truth. What does this mean for the world? The coming solar eclipse will have a global effect not only because of its visibility across North America, but also because of the discussions it triggers globally. It will be a moment when communities will join to enjoy this unique phenomenon, and for a few, probably through its spiritual connotations. In a world frequently filled with anguish, confusion, and uncertainty, the eclipse is interpreted as a symbol that speaks to the present condition. This may amount to a warning or the announcement of high-impact transformations both on the earth and in the hearts of men. The fading of the sun during an eclipse remains one of the most enthralling celestial stunts. It is a process that is a source of awe, terror, and thrill. As the day draws closer, the world will again be able to witness this powerful sign that will let people perceive its meaning in the context of an apocalyptic approach. During the eclipse, when the sun gets dark, the eclipse becomes one of the most obvious reminders in this story of the prophecies that have been repeated throughout history. This is a point to interrupt and reflect on whether the movements of all the elements, both the visible and invisible ones, are just coincidences or a big cause at play. In the more modern era, where science has made few of the heavenly mysteries less fearful and wondrous, the total solar eclipse is the only one of its kind. Such theories may lead to people interpreting the eclipse as a literal fulfillment of prophecy or a sign that the end of the world is fast approaching. With April 8th getting closer, people are getting restless with excitement. The media will be full of people from all social layers of society who will probably look skyward in awe and deep thought. This eclipse creates such a unique space for mass contemplation and meditation, offering an opportunity to escape our earthly problems and witness the grandeur and transience of our existence. Through an eclipse, the world, which is often divided by differences, opens up to a single moment. As the shadow of the moon passes over the earth, it will briefly erase borders and distinctions, reminding us of our shared humanity and the common ground we stand on. As the darkness of the total solar eclipse envelops the land, what tremors will it stir within the heart of our planet? What revelations will be uncovered in the shadow? The eclipse is not just an astronomical event, it is a moment of profound significance that has the power to move hearts and minds. It is a time for introspection, for looking inward as much as we look up. Thank you for watching. Let us know your thoughts about the total solar eclipse and the biblical prophecies surrounding it. Also, comment, and share if you found this discovery intriguing.